It was a cup of water. That's what it was. Maya asked me for a cup of water. I'd been up since 6, made breakfast, done the school run in the rain, answered work messages standing in the hallway with my coat still on, put a wash on, unloaded the dishwasher, made lunch, cleaned up lunch, sat down for the first time at 2:15, and Maya came in and asked me for a cup of water, and something in me had no more room for it, not a shout, something quieter than a shout and worse, that cold, clipped tone that comes from somewhere I didn't know I had before I became a mother. My jaw was tight before I even turned around. I got the water. I put the glass on the counter harder than I needed to. And Maya looked at me. That look, you know that look, where they're not sure which version of you just walked in. And something in my chest cracked open. I turned and walked out of the kitchen, stood in the hallway with my back against the wall, eyes closed, not angry anymore, just hollow and ashamed of both. And the thing sitting in my chest in that hallway wasn't even guilt yet. It was something quieter and harder than guilt. It was the specific feeling of not recognizing yourself. I'm Ma, Ari, and Maya's mom, Nana's daughter. And I want to talk about the thing nobody admits at the school gate. I want to start with the thing I got wrong for a long time. I thought the rage was the problem. I thought if I could just get a better handle on myself, more sleep, more patience, more of whatever it is that other mothers seem to have in endless supply, I wouldn't lose it like that. I wouldn't put a glass down too hard. I wouldn't use that voice. But the rage wasn't the problem. The rage was the alarm. Your body has a limit. Not a weakness, a limit. A point at which it has given everything it has to give, and there is genuinely nothing left. And when you hit that point, when you are scraped completely clean and someone asks for one more thing, the body doesn't respond the way you'd like it to. It responds the way it has to. The cup of water wasn't about the cup of water. I know that now. The cup of water was just the moment the alarm finally got loud enough to hear. Because nobody snaps at the water. They snap at the end of a very long invisible list that nobody else can see. And the cruelest part of that list is that every single thing on it was reasonable. Every single demand was legitimate. None of it was unfair. The children needed what they needed. The work needed what it needed. The house needed what it needed. But somewhere in the middle of all of that legitimate need, I had stopped being on the list. Not all at once. Quietly. The way things disappear when you're not looking. I was last to sit down at every meal. Last to sleep. Last to stop. There was always one more thing, and I was always the one who noticed it. And so I was always the one who did it. And I told myself that was fine. That's what the season looks like. That I'd have more time for myself later, when they were older, when things settled down. Later never came. Things never settled. And one afternoon in my kitchen, I put a glass of water down too hard and frightened my daughter and stood in the hallway wondering what had happened to me. That's what was in the cup of water. Weeks of it, months of it. All the things I'd put last for so long they'd stopped asking. I Googled it afterwards, at 11 o'clock at night, in the dark, while everyone else was asleep. The internet told me to try deep breathing. I closed the tab. But here's the part that actually cost the most, not the moment itself. What came after? The rage, if you can call it that, lasted about 4 seconds. What came after lasted 3 hours. The replay, Maya's face, the specific way she'd looked at me, the apology that felt hollow even as I was giving it, because I didn't understand yet what I was actually apologizing for. The overcompensating, the extra cuddle, the yes to the biscuit I'd said no to an hour earlier, the guilty softness that she could feel wasn't quite real. And then lying awake at midnight, running it back, wondering if this is who I'm becoming, wondering what she'll remember, wondering if the love is loud enough to cover the moments when I get it wrong. That midnight spiral, that's the part that nobody talks about. That's what the rage leaves behind. But here's what I wish someone had told me before I stood in that hallway. The rage wasn't the problem. Stay with me. Because understanding this changed everything about how I saw that afternoon. And every afternoon like it. The rage was the alarm. Not the fire. The alarm. Something in me had been trying to get my attention for weeks, through the flat gray feeling in the mornings, through the way small things had started to feel enormous, through the specific exhaustion that isn't about sleep, the kind that comes from being needed by everyone and known by nobody. I hadn't heard it, or I'd heard it and put it last on the list, and so eventually it got loud. The question I had to ask myself, not in that hallway, that was too raw, but later quietly, was, what has the alarm been trying to say? And the answer, when I finally sat with it, was embarrassingly simple. I had forgotten that I was a person, not a mother, not a manager of the house, not a function, a person, with things she liked and things that restored her, and a body that needed more than the scraps of time left over after everything else had been fed. I found a photograph of myself from before Ari was born, before any of it, and I sat with it for a long time at the kitchen table with a cold cup of tea. And the thing I felt wasn't sadness exactly. It was something more like recognition, like running into someone I used to know very well and had somehow stopped calling. I hadn't lost her. I'd just stopped leaving space for her, for so long that she'd gone quiet. I told my husband I needed an hour to myself, just 1 hour. Nothing dramatic, just an hour where nobody needed anything from me. He said, of course. Absolutely. Take whatever you need. He meant it entirely. He knocked on the door 11 minutes later to ask where the children's medicine was. It was in the medicine cabinet, where it has lived for 7 years. I told Nana. She listened to the whole thing. The water, the glass, Maya's face, the hallway, all of it. And she said, your father used to call it my thundercloud. He said he always knew one was coming about 3 days before it arrived. I asked her what he did when it came. She said he made her a cup of tea and left her alone for an hour. The man was a genius. I want to stop and say something to you directly. You are not a monster. I know that's what it feels like in the hallway. I know that's what the midnight replay tells you. But the rage is not evidence that there's something broken in you. It's evidence that you've been running on empty for too long. Giving and giving without anyone, including yourself, making sure you got any of it back. You are not the cup of water. You are everything that came before it. All the quiet, invisible, uncounted things you did that nobody saw and nobody thanked you for, and you didn't even notice anymore because they'd just become the air you moved through. That is not sustainable, not because you're weak, because nothing is. The alarm went off. That's not a character flaw. That's your body being honest with you when you hadn't given it any other way to be heard. The question now isn't how to make sure it never happens again. The question is, what has it been trying to tell you, and are you finally ready to listen? If tonight you're lying there replaying a moment you're not proud of, the Burnout Guide is the step-by-step of what to do when the alarm has been going off for too long and you finally want to understand what it's been trying to tell you. Not to manage the rage, to hear what's underneath it. Click the first link in the pinned comment, right now, tonight. Before the midnight replay starts again, there's something else that happened that afternoon that I haven't told you yet. After the water, after the hallway, after the apology, my husband and I talked about it, and it turned out we had completely different ideas about what had just happened, about what Maya needed, about how we were supposed to handle moments like that, about what kind of parents we were trying to be. I thought we were on the same page. Turns out we were reading completely different books. But that's a whole other conversation.